So we're reading today Acts chapter 16, verses 25 to 34, where we meet Paul and Silas in prison, and it starts off by saying that about midnight they were praying and singing hymns to God. Now, I used to have this image of myself in my head that I would be someone for whom when life got really hard, when the disappointment was real, when grief was real, when the wrong diagnosis came, I would be someone who would be found like this, praising and praying and singing hymns to God. But actually, my life experience has shown me that that is not in fact the case. That when those hard times come, when that grief comes, when the wrong diagnosis comes, that the natural inclination of my heart is not in fact to praise or even to pray. Now, don't get me wrong, I believe that there is more grace and more love and more space before God than we could possibly imagine to be real with him and to be honest and to bring our hurts. But actually what I realise is that it takes maybe a different way of living. And there's another story I've been reading at the moment, which is about farmers in the Midwest. And it talks about how in order to prepare for blizzards, they would tie a rope from their front door out to the barn. And when the blizzards came, which they would come quickly and dangerously, and if the farmer was caught out in the field, then they would have a way back to the house. And as I read this story about Paul and Silas, I can't help but think that they have already set out their rope. That in fairer days, they'd already had these rhythms and these practices of praise and prayer. And we can see that as we've been journeying through Acts, we can see the rhythms of the early church of prayer and worship. So that when the day comes, when the disaster comes, when the blizzard comes, their rope was already firmly in place and they knew the way to go.